All right, afternoon, everyone. This is Mike Cosgrove with Pro Concepts, part of PCIA, which is an insurance agency specializing in working with professional service firms such as architects, engineers, CPAs, law firms, technology firms, all commercial based. And today I've got a great host that I've known for a long time. Her name is Cathy Mosley. Hi, Cathy.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So Cathy is the AIA Executive Director here in Michigan, and has been so since 2013?
Right, 10 years.
10 years. That's right. We talked about this.
Yes.
Yeah, 10 years on the money. But you've been there a lot longer than that.
44 years.
Wow. That's like unheard of.
Yes.
It's funny as as we're we're always interviewing, hiring new folks at the agency as we grow and this and that. And I get these resumes and people are like 1 year, 2 years, 1 year, and you're like, what in the world is going on? So 44 is hats off to you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
You grew up in the business.
I did. I started at 19.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. And you still love it.
I still love it.
Yeah. And your daughter's involved in AIA.
Yes, my daughter works for AIA. She does the social media and programming and, just everything. When you work for an association, you do everything.
Sure. So today's program is going to be specifically about the 10 reasons why all architects should consider joining AIA Michigan specifically. Obviously, AIA is a national group, but we're talking more on the Michigan level, I guess I'd say.
Right. They're national, but they're three-tiered. So if you join the AIA, you belong to all three. National, state, and local.
Gotcha. Awesome. How often do you go to the national conferences? Do you go to those that often?
Every year.
Oh, you do go every year?
Yeah,
Okay.
I go every year to the convention, or they call it Conference on Architecture, and then they have a grassroots session that I go to every year.
Okay, awesome. So we talked about Lizzie's part of the firm, part of the executive group, but then she does some other things. How about your son, Mike?
Mike is also, he has a degree in architecture,
Sure.
Runs in the family, and he is very into artificial intelligence, and he just loves to do anything with computers.
Sure. I feel like every time I talk sometimes I call him Mikey because I've known him so long. I need to stop that because he's probably getting close to 30, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 29. He just turned 29, but we all call him Mikey, so he's so used to it, especially everyone in the AIA.
Sure.
They grew up with him, knowing him that way.
Exactly. We all go up to the summer conference together, and our kids have grown up together, and it's just a neat connection that we've all got. So, but I feel like every time I talk with Mikey and Lizzie, that it's just like a mind blow. I mean, I've got, friends with some, awesome kids. My kids are awesome, but Mikey and Lizzie, they kind of take the cake with some of the things they do and I hear about and, this and that, but it's pretty awesome. And Mike just got back from Thailand, I understand.
Thailand. They're extremely adventurous.
Sure. That's awesome. So, and then Mike, your husband how long you guys been married, by the way?
34 years.
34 years. And he's an architect.
He is. He's retired now, but he was an architect with Detroit Edison for years and then went out on his own and then taught at Lawrence Technological University for maybe also 20 years.
Wow. Awesome. And he's also photographer, or is that just more of a hobby?
It's a hobby.
Okay.
He loves photography. He loves everything. That's where Mikey gets it all from.
Sure. Well, that's awesome. So one thing I always ask everybody, what's your favorite book of all times? And it could be anything.
I know. I've been thinking about that. And I don't think I have a favorite
book. You don't? Okay, that's okay.
But I do have a favorite genre.
Okay.
So definitely murder mystery.
Actually, we've talked about this because don't you listen to murder mystery podcasts?
Yes, and books and watch all the murder mystery shows. And my daughter is super into that also. So that would be my favorite.
Sure. So I don't know why this just popped in my head, but this is going to show age on all of us, but did you watch Murder, She Wrote out of curiosity?
Sure. When I was younger, right. Absolutely. I think I even watched Columbo.
Oh, you know, what was his favorite line was, can I ask you one more question or something like that? That's awesome. So, so the crime podcast, what's a podcast that you would do a shout out to that you think is top notch? Is there one that comes to mind?
No, but there's just so many.
So many. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. All right. So we'll kick it off then. We'll just start kind of talking about the 10 reasons why architects should consider joining AIA architecture, AIA Michigan, I should say. What, from a number standpoint, do you have any kind of a feel? And if you don't, that's fine. But any kind of a feel as far as percentage that are members versus architects here in the state that are not?
It's about 50%.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Right.
I would not have expected it to be that high.
No,
okay.
it's about that nationwide, actually, somewhere in that range.
Okay. All right.
AIA has now 96,000 members.
Okay.
Some states have more and some have less, but that's about the average.
Sure. So 50%, that's where the cool kids are. So if
Absolutely.
you want to be part of the cool kids, you better get in there. So tell the group, what would be your first reason why someone should consider joining AIA?
Well, there are so many, and I won't go in order, but probably for government advocacy.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I mean, I think that's probably one of the most important things that people talk about when they ask, what does AIA do for me?
Sure.
So there's a lot of legislation that affects architects throughout the year, and we've been very successful in maintaining the licensure status and getting, QBC and Certificate of Merit, and we're working on all these issues for architects constantly.
Sure. Constantly protecting the industry.
Absolutely.
Because it's always evolving. They're always trying to pass things that could really undermine the industry substantially. So
and get around the law. That's the big thing, is how to get around the law. So
sure,
we're here to protect architects. And that's if you're a member or not a member. Exactly. So you're getting that benefit even if you're not a member, but I really believe that benefit is worth your dues dollars right there.
Absolutely. It's funny because, whenever there's something that's like, the big hubbub that's trying to pass, and I'll have clients call me and say, what are you all doing about this to us as an insurance agency?
Right.
And my first response is, now, are you part of AIA? Because that group is like all over this. And usually I'm asking because I know they're not. Mm-hmm. And I want to put that plug in like, hey, you all really should be considering this, because it takes numbers and it takes money like everything else to make things to protect us.
Well, we appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you.
No, absolutely. All right. So government advocacy is a huge one. How about another one?
Continuing education. So
Sure.
in the state of Michigan, we now have mandatory continuing education, which AIA was strong in implementing in the state. And so if you're an AIA member, we offer all kinds of continuing education, and a lot of it is free.
Sure.
The chapters around the state, we all have a number of hours that we must do to stay a component. So there's always some event or something that you can get your continuing education. And the great thing is we track it.
Okay.
So we save everything online, and we will go to the state and provide everything that you need. If you're not a member, you have to keep all these little pieces of paper and figure it out when you're audited, and people do get audited.
Oh yeah. I've had a lot of clients actually get audited. Mm-hmm. I mean, we represent 500 architecture, engineering type firms. And so I have firms constantly that get audited. Obviously we do a lot of continuing ed, and we do a lot of continuing ed for AIA. You've had us come in over the years at different conferences. Right. And what the most recent one was the leadership conference, and that was on AI, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So, yeah, the continuing ed is huge. And, in order to get the health, safety, welfare credits, all of that stuff is a whole new ballgame these days. And so, yeah, hats off to AIA on the continuing ed. So third, how about the designation piece? Talk to that if you could.
Well, it is prestige to have AIA after your name. And if you are a fellow of AIA and FAIA, and that is the top of the cream of the crop of the architects who gain fellowship. But beyond that, the AIA has a code of ethics.
Sure.
And every AIA member adheres to that code of ethics. And that is above and beyond just being an architect.
Just being business practices.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that is very important. And when people hear that you're an AIA member, that brings more credibility to you.
Sure. Absolutely. So what would be a fourth one? We've listed three so far.
Well, I think, probably the research that AIA does nationally, especially, they have all of these knowledge communities, and they are constantly publishing papers, and They have so much information online and at their fingertips.
Sure.
So, the internet is vast, but and you can find information, but you don't always know if it's correct.
Right.
And when you go to the AIA, you can rely on that data.
Yeah. And that's so true. I mean, it's like people think because they read it on the internet that it's true. And it's like, no, it doesn't mean that it's true at all. And I'm not going to get the statistic right, but I think they say that 60% is correct and maybe 40% is somewhat correct,
right.
but not necessarily. So yeah, so that's great. How about the awards program? And I always love the awards night. That's a fun night.
It is fun. All of the entities have awards, the national, the state, and the local. So you can be a nationally award-winning firm, or you can be a state or a local, or all three, which we have here. We have many firms who've won all three awards. And the great thing about that is when you're going to clients, having all those awards on the wall does not hurt.
Oh, sure.
And it's a great networking opportunity for architects and clients to get together and talk about good architecture. It's also great for the public to see all the architecture that's going on. A lot of the chapters do their programs and they invite a lot of the public and the press. And so that's exciting, but
nice.
We love our programs.
Sure. Well, and I should have asked this at the beginning. So there's chapters all throughout Michigan.
Right. We have 10 chapters and sections.
Okay.
So obviously Detroit being the largest, Grand Rapids is probably the second largest.
Sure.
But we have very, very little ones like Saginaw or Flint or a few others. And these groups of people, they're very strong.
Sure. How about the Upper Peninsula?
Yeah, the Upper Peninsula, believe it or not, has about 20 members.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And
like Marquette area?
Well, that's actually, the Upper Great Lakes area. They have their own chapter.
Oh, I see. Okay. Nice. And everybody's under the Detroit umbrella or no?
We're all separate entities, but probably you would consider them under the Michigan umbrella.
Under the Michigan umbrella. I got you. Perfect. So I should have brought that up to begin with, but I wanted to make sure we touched on that so people understood.
And we have about 1,800 members, just so you know, around the state.
Wow. That's amazing. 1,800. So there's another 1,800 that aren't in the club.
Oh, yes. But I mean, a lot of people may be licensed in several states.
Sure.
That or maybe licensed but moved.
Sure. So. Yeah, absolutely. All right. And then let's talk about the trust, the AIA trust for a minute.
Well, the AIA trust has a lot of members or benefits, and they're exclusive just to AIA architects. The one thing about the trust that I find helpful is there's so much information on how to run a firm.
Sure. How
to start a firm, publicize your firm. It's just a great resource. And obviously it offers insurance, medical insurance, different things. It depends on your state.
Sure.
As far as the insurance goes. But they're just a wealth of information.
Nice.
And that's just free to all members.
Right. And it's all architects.
All architects.
Yeah, great. How about another one we've got listed here? How about discounts?
Well, the AIA has its own AIA documents. Okay. And recently, it actually just sold the documents, but they retain the rights to the content of the documents. And so if you are a member, you receive I think it's a 30% discount off of all of these documents, whether they're electronic or paper.
Oh. And
that, if you use a lot of AI documents, that's a huge benefit. Also, there's all kinds of discount programs, with insurance companies or car companies and
sure.
different discounts there, the AIA bookstore.
Oh, yeah.
So
nice. Yeah. Very cool. How about leadership opportunities? And maybe we should talk about the younger generations coming in. I think that's a great, I think we've got a really good number of younger folks coming in, but maybe speak to that for a minute.
Absolutely. There are a lot of leadership opportunities within all three entities. AI Detroit has a great leadership training program called the Christopher Kelly Program, and young architects can get involved in that. And then we have a lot of leadership programs where they can go to the board of directors. They can be a national associate advocate or a young architect nationally, heads of committees. It's a great place to start and then just kind of go up the ladder.
Sure.
And we've had very young presidents of the AIA. I think our youngest was was in his 30s, and that's pretty young to be president.
Sure it is.
And so there's so many possibilities.
Right. Well, and so speaking to the young architects that become part of this, I mean, they get a lot of networking opportunities,
Absolutely.
a lot of opportunities to be seen in their overall industry. I mean, these are typically the younger folks that get involved at an early age, less experienced age. Those are the ones that we see typically end up starting to run some of these firms and move up the ladders
Right.
and all of that good stuff.
Absolutely. A story that I could tell you is we had a young architect who was very involved in AIA. He was an associate on our board and a lot of committees. And then we had a huge downturn in the industry. I think it was like 2008 maybe.
Oh, sure.
That during that time. And he was able to stay working where a lot of people could not get jobs and went into alternate careers.
Sure.
And he attributed that to all the people that he met through AIA.
Right.
And today he is now a principal in a firm.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So, and I've said to my kids over the years, a lot of times it's who you know. You have to put yourself out there. And that he was able to continue working during the recession and all that is, just speaks volumes as far as him being outgoing and willing to, it's not comfortable for any of us to do things like that, but to be outgoing and meet a lot of folks, that's awesome.
Right.
Yeah. How about number 9? We're already on 9. I'm feeling like we're going through these fast, which is great.
That's that whole networking, that vast network. It's not just it's a peer-to-peer network, and it's also a great network. Like, for example, our midsummer conference. We do the conference in conjunction with AGC,
Sure.
the general contractors. We have a lot of sponsors. One of them is you.
Right.
And so a lot of industry networking going on there. And principals and firms get to network with the suppliers and the sponsors and the contractors, and great friendships are forged.
Yes.
And so that networking is really important in the industry. And it's great for other architects to go to events and just talk to their peers, what's going on in the industry. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
so that people always say that's right up there as one of the top benefits of AIA.
Yeah, I would agree. And I've gone to that conference. So as an adult for 25 years, and before that I went as a kid because my mother started the agency. And so I remember going, I think I was, I don't know, maybe a freshman in high school, something like that I started attending the AIA conference. And obviously I didn't know anything back then, but it's really cool to I've raised both of our daughters going up there. And so they think,
Right.
Doesn't everybody go to Mackinac Island in the summer for a conference, because they've never known anything different.
Same with my kids.
So, yeah, I mean, I remember holding them as babies in our arms, at the different events and that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's a great traditional
Right.
thing that AIA has continued. How many years? I can't remember.
I think we just had 80 last year, so it'll be 81.
Is that okay? It was 80 last year. Awesome.
I think we may be the longest continuous conference at the Grand Hotel.
That's beautiful. Yeah. What a great experience, and just a neat opportunity for everybody. So,
Right.
Yeah. And it's very family oriented, obviously.
It is very family oriented. And on the other side of the coin, we have other programs like our health facilities program, which is a great program for people in the hospital industry to then connect with architects.
Sure.
So we have a lot of different programs for different sectors of the membership. We have an education program, a design retreat program, which really connects students and young professionals with older professionals and the projects that are going on around the state. And what's great about that is we have a lot of young presenters that are working in the firms.
Okay. Yeah. I was always told that if you want to know something, go present on it, because
Yes.
you're going to know it inside and out, because you're not about to get up in front of people, right? Unless you know the topic
Right.
pretty well. All right. How about last one, number 10?
So career resources, advancement. We've talked a little bit about that, but there's a career center within the AIA nationally, and we have a job board that just is popping all the time with opportunities. Again, that networking is a big part of career advancement. We have a lot of resources. We are continually in touch with I think it's 5 schools of architecture here now, which is a lot for one state, but
Sure.
we have great schools here. And so there's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah. Absolutely.
than architecture.
That's awesome. I'm not even from Michigan, but I feel like we have just such an amazing state. I've been here 35 years, originally from Southern Indiana, but what an amazing state in all different facets. And AIA is one of those main pieces. So awesome. Well, Cathy, thank you for being on our podcast.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. It's been great.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
I could talk forever. So,
well, thank you everyone for joining. This is again Mike Cosgrove. I'll give you my direct number in case you would like to get a hold of us for anything. It's 810-224-5255. And it's Professional Concepts Insurance Agency. And Cathy, if you would, in case there's an architect listening in that's like, oh, I want to know about this. Obviously, the younger generations, they'll just go and Google it so fast. But what would be the phone number they would call if they wanted to get a hold of AIA?
313-965-4100.
Awesome.
And they can email.
Sure. And they can email. What's the email address?
AIAMI@AIAMI.com.
Beautiful. Awesome. I usually shy away. Yours is pretty easy, but I feel like last names and all that, sometimes it's kind of hard with, email addresses, but thank you everyone for joining us. Cathy, thank you again for being here, and we'll see you next time.